Every single year, Ultimate Team releases, and every single year, players make the exact same mistakes over and over again. And these mistakes can cost you tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of coins in the long run, but ultimately could also cost you your entertainment. So in this video, I'm going to be highlighting those mistakes, and hopefully by highlighting them, you will find them a lot easier to avoid. The first mistake is not taking advantage of everything that Sky Coach has to offer. If you're still going through FIFA 23 Ultimate Team and you want to end this year with a bang, then you can go and use Sky Coach to get some cheap, fast and reliable FIFA 23 coins. If you're one of those who's trying to save your money in order for you to get the most out of EAFC Ultimate Team when that finally releases, well, I have already been told that Sky Coach is planning to release EAFC coins. They're not available just yet, but the second that Ultimate Team releases for EAFC and they have coins available, you will be able to buy them. Regardless of whether or not you're going through FIFA 23 or you're waiting until EAFC, if you go and use Fnatic, you'll also get yourself a 10% discount. Link is in the description down below. And getting back into the mistakes for this video. Mistake number 1, creating a very specific starter team. This is not as bad as what it used to be when chemistry was done through direct links to nearby players, but if you are someone that's still trying to get maximum chemistry within a hybrid team and you're using very specific players on a brand new game that you have not had a chance to play yet, it's always going to be a letdown. Mainly because whenever we go into a new Ultimate Team, it is more or less the same in that it's the same layout, but it's not the same gameplay. What was overpowered in previous years may not be the case this year. And this becomes very problematic because if there is a player that's being a letdown or the formation is a letdown, because you've gone with something that's very specific in order for you to get the chemistry available, get every player in the correct position, and also have something that looks pretty decent on paper, may not actually work within game. It may be the case that you might need to go and change one of these details, but by changing one of these little details means that you ultimately need to change up the full team. Removing a player may not have someone else to fit in that exact position, not to give chemistry to all the surrounding players as part of the team. And likewise, by changing a formation might mean that there's going to be some players that are put out of their preferred and alternative positions, meaning yet again they will not get full chemistry. It's certainly fun building hybrids, making things specific, but it's only best done when you know those players are already good. One of the best things that you can do at the beginning of a new year is just select a specific league. No matter what league it is, you can choose, but just go for a specific league and just buy the players that you want to play with as part of that league. Once you start to get an understanding of who's doing well, who isn't, you can start to build more advanced hybrids, and that is where you're going to see a lot more success. Number 2, using coins to buy players for your team right at the beginning. Might sound like a weird one, but let me explain. You've just started Ultimate Team, you've gone through the intro, you've claimed your kits, you've claimed your badges, you've got your starter team. You can then go through your objectives, build up coins, and likely you're going to go through your very first match. Most people start with squad battles. They'll play their game, get about 500 coins, and they'll immediately use those coins to buy a player. Because it's 500 coins, it's likely going to be a common goal player. They'll go and put that into their team, and then they'll go into a squad battles game again. Because you were able to play and likely you went through your seasonal rewards and claimed a coin bonus, after you finish this next game, you're potentially going to get around 1,000, 1,500 coins. That gives you enough to buy 2 rare gold players. You'll then go into another game and do the exact same thing again until you have 11 players. This is a very long way to do things. What's better to go and do instead of immediately buying players for your team is to go into a game, complete that game, get those coins, buy players, but buy them in order to make more coins. So you're going to be trading with them. Use a bronze trading method, a silver trading method, or even go into something such as bulk bidding. You buy those players, immediately list them onto the transfer market, not improve your team, go into the next game, play that, you'll then get your coins from the match itself, and also by the end, hopefully some of those players have sold, in which you've been able to get coins from them. You will then go through this process again, where you'll use the coins that you have to buy even more players, but to trade with them. After about 5 or 6 games, you'll probably have about 20 to 30k. Not only have you sped up the process by being able to build your team a lot quicker, but you're likely going to be able to build a much better team with there being a lot more coins left over for you to continue progressing. Number 3, going into online with your starter team. You used to be able to get away with this about 10 years ago. You used to be able to go into Ultimate Team, start playing, and immediately go into online. Likelihood is that you would come up to another opponent who is using their starter team, pretty evenly matched. But nowadays, if you're going to go into online, even from day one, it's likely that you're going to come up to a player who's already got a full goal team and it's at max chem. If you go into that, even though you may be a good and confident player, you're still putting yourself at a disadvantage. For most, it's best to start off with squad battles, keep on going through this process, eventually building up to a goal team using what we mentioned previously, and then going into online. Number 4, doing everything on early access. For those buying the Ultimate Edition, you don't need to worry about this because the Ultimate Edition releases on September 22nd, which is the exact same day as EA Play Early Access. For those of you going for the Standard Edition though, but looking to go and get the EA Play subscription so that you do get your 10 hours early access, this is a mistake for you. The most efficient way in order for you to use these 10 hours is to only play the game in order to do things that you cannot do elsewhere. What do I mean by this? Well, at the exact same time of the EA Play release for early access, so too will the web app and companion app. And both of these will allow you to access your packs, go through the transfer market, build your team, and complete SBCs. Pretty much everything else that you need to do within the menus. So it makes sense for you to use the web app to do those things, but for you to then go onto your console and use your 10 hours of game time to play matches. That's the only thing that you cannot do on a web app or companion app. Number 5, not trading. We briefly touched on this earlier, but it is important for you to trade because even if it isn't something that you enjoy, there are some very basic trading methods that can be done, which can take just a few minutes, and that will put you much further ahead. Bear in mind that you're going to have to spend 15 to 20 minutes to go into a game, and that game is going to give you about 500 to potentially 1,500 coins, depending on coin bonuses. And typically, the only way for you to get a high reward from this is if you were to wait. Wait for your weekly rewards, wait for you to get into FUT Champions, wait for the weekend league, wait for your squad battle rewards. You do not get them instantly. So especially when you're very first starting, it's helpful for you to play games and trade because the second that a player sells, you're instantly able to get those coins to put them back into more trading methods or eventually build up your ultimate team. Number 6, not investing during the early access. I'm a pretty boring player. I don't 100% know how to invest into players that suddenly go from 1,000 coins to 10,000 coins after just a few hours. That's just not how I do things. However, I do look for long-term investments. So during early access last year and the Ultimate Edition release, I bought into Team of the Week players, high rated players, and any other type of fodder items, being 83 rated plus. I bought one of each, stored them in my club, as well as some in my unassigned, and waited. By the time the Standard Edition released, some of these players did increase by a couple hundred, maybe a few thousand coins. Nothing too crazy, but by another 2-3 weeks into the Standard Edition, into the full game of FIFA 23, that is when I saw bigger returns. Typically, these types of players will always increase because they are needed for SBCs, and the second that there's hype around an SBC, players immediately flock to these types of cards in order to buy them to use them for that SBC. Either meaning that I can go and sell those players on for a profit, or I can go and use those players to complete that SBC myself for a relatively cheaper price. If you got the extra coins to do so, it's certainly worth doing. And number 7, not exploiting new game modes. At the beginning of a new Ultimate Team, whenever EA adds something new, it tends to be unbalanced. Unbalanced in normally an overpowered way. I think back to the release of when they first added FUT Draft. When FUT Draft was added, there were so many people going into Ultimate Team at the start and immediately following their normal routines. They didn't play FUT Draft, but for those that did go into FUT Draft, they were able to build up their rewards and make an insane profit. Same happened on the release of FUT Champions when that was first added. Those who went through was able to go and compete. It was a grind and a sweat fest, but they got great rewards. Even last year, when Foot Moments was added, it wasn't the most rewarding game mode ever, certainly not more than Foot Draft or Foot Champions, but it was best within that very first month as it was new, plus also there was quite a lot of content on offer, and there was still season rewards as EA was pushing content as it was a new game. But after that, it completely fell to pieces and was no longer worth it. Typically, whenever there is anything new, EA tends to push it a bit more just to make it attractive to new players to get them into that game mode. And that is when it's the best time to go through. So with any new game modes this year, we're talking about evolutions, it's worth hitting the ground running, taking advantage of it from the very first day. And number 8, finding the cheap, overpowered players. It's easy to get ahead of ourselves of a brand new Ultimate Team. We're starting from zero, we're building up, but we see certain players on the horizon. Maybe a few good players who are 86 to say 89 rated, and they're about 100 to 200k. But we currently only have 20, 30k. We're still a distance away from that. And likewise, there's of course the Mbappes, the Messis, who are going to be worth hundreds of thousands, millions of coins. We all want to be able to push to those players as quickly as possible, but at the start, it's really good to experiment with the cheap, overpowered players. There are some players within the game whose stats really do not represent how they perform within game, either them being totally awful or absolutely insane. There's going to be about 10 different players who play exactly like Mbappe within game, if not similar, but for a fraction of the price. You need to find those players by experimenting and seeing what other people are talking about within the community, buy into them, and then use them. If you can get onto these players quicker than most other people in the community, you'll be able to buy them for a relatively low price before they increase. Plus also, you still get an insanely good player to use within your team. Use them for as long as possible whilst you build up your accounts, build up your club, and then once you're ready, of course, you will then upgrade to those players that you're looking to go for. But for the time being, whilst you're first starting, look for the cheap, overpowered players. If you enjoyed this video, then I highly recommend clicking the next video on screen. That video goes through how to correctly start Ultimate Team right to the beginning. If you're interested in that video, click that and I'll be over there to guide you through absolutely everything. I hope you enjoy.